I want to mention what Jennifer Rubin had in the post about the orange vomit, issued another anti-Semitic harangue over the weekend. And every time I read or hear about something like this, I think about the Jews who will vote Republican or who will vote for Trump. And it's like women voting Republican or Jews voting Republican or Hispanics voting Republican. What does that indicate? No. It doesn't indicate they have a better program. They have better ideas for women, for Jews, for the people of this country. No. But Trump's anti-Semitic harangue over the weekend, he said this, quote, U.S. Jews have to get their act together and appreciate what they have in Israel before it's too late, end quote, which is similar to the anti-Semitic slop that white Christians have been putting out there since forever. The Jews in the United States have a dual loyalty to Israel, and that they must support Israel simply by virtue of their religion. But the subtlety of this, the absolute subtlety of what this orange bastard is saying, he once again is trying to separate American Jews from their citizenship in this country. And he's trying to tell the American people that Jews had better get their act together and appreciate what they have in Israel? You bastard. And the anti-Semites in this country suck it up. Now, the orange vomit has said this kind of shit before. And there's never any pushback from his party, from the Republicans. Republicans don't give a fuck. They don't like Jews. They're Christian terrorists. As far as some of them are concerned, and they made this very public and very specific, the only good Jew is a dead Jew. That's what the Christian Terrorist Party is about. And about the only time that these Christian terrorists condemn anti-Semitism is when it comes from the left, when it comes from a Democrat. And now that so many in the Christian terrorist political organization are afraid of offending their fellows in the white Christian terrorist movement, and the followers of some crazy bitch like Marjorie Taylor Greene, remember what she said, that the forest fires in California were being caused by Jewish space lasers. I mean, give me a fucking break here. And the Christian Terrorist Party sucks up to slime like Marjorie Taylor Greene, to the point here in Georgia, that's another race here in Georgia, she's going to get reelected. The candidate running against her is so just incredibly qualified on his own, but when you compare him to the bitch Greene, it's just no contest. It should be no contest. But her district is just filled with these Christian terrorist son of a bitches, and they're going to put her back in office. Jewish space lasers. And of course, all of this is coming at a time when we have record anti-Semitic hate crimes. And it also comes at a moment when, as the Washington Post reports, quote, leading Republican figures have failed to disavow sometime Trump reporter named Ye, that asshole, Kanye West. What a fucking lump he is. This month, Kanye West tweeted that he wanted to go to DEFCON 3, not even understanding the goddamn term, on Jewish people. And what this ignorant son of a bitch was trying to say was DEFCON, DEFCON, which is an acronym, and it's a U.S. military defense readiness system. And don't forget, the Florida governor, this scum bastard Ron DeSantis, touted as the better alternative to Trump, who refused to condemn a group of protesters in Orlando back in January who were walking around with Nazi symbols. So when I or anybody from the left starts ranting and raging like I just did about these Christian terrorists, son of a bitches, And to Jews, this is not a shock or surprise. I mean, this shit's been going on for 2 millennia. The Jews know about this. I mean, my God. And Gentiles should know about it too. Anyone who is not a Jew should take a look at the history of pogroms and slaughter and lynchings and burning alive and being exiled from your own country and the terror and the horror visited against Jews. And why Jews, you might ask? Well, you suppose it has something to do with the blood libel of the Jews who are responsible for the execution of one of many people who claimed to be a Messiah 2,000 years ago. This one was a fellow Jew, a rabbi, part-time, from Nazareth, named Jesus. And because he was condemned to death by the Romans, and the death sentence was allowed to pass by the Sanhedrin, the Jewish judges, oh, well, the Jews killed the Messiah. To me, and again, I'm not a Christian, I'm not a Jew, but to me, from my bit of studying in comparative religion or religious history, that is the only reason. Christianity comes from Judaism. And the Christian terrorists in this country continue to talk about our Judeo-Christian traditions. And yet they will walk into a synagogue with a fucking AR-15 and start killing Jews. Madness is stalking this country, folks. I mean, that should be plain. Jonathan Greenblatt, the head of the Anti-Defamation League, response to this mouthful of shit that Trump put up on his toy website over the weekend. Greenblatt said, he's the head of the ADL, he said, quote, "We don't need the former president who curries favor with extremists and anti-Semites to lecture us about U.S.-Israel relationship. It is not about a quid pro quo. It rests on shared values and security interests. This Jew-splaining by Mr. Trump is insulting and disgusting." Right. Well, as Jennifer points out in her column, she uses the term Republican, but I've told you before, and you may or may not agree, but the Republican Party is dead. It's a rotting corpse, and in its place we have Christian terrorism. So I'll change that. Every Christian terrorist who appears on a cable news program should be asked about this. In particular, Rubin says that reporters should ask Kevin McCarthy how he can keep going on bended knee to Mar-a-Lago or promise to put Marjorie Taylor Greene, who talks about Jewish space lasers, back on committees if the Christian Terrorist Party wins the House majority, which it appears they're going to do, by the way. And McCarthy himself, remember when he used his own little anti-Semitic mouthful of shit during the 2018 election? He warned in a tweet that, quote, "We cannot allow Soros, Steyer, and Bloomberg to buy, all caps, buy this election." And those three Democratic donors are all Jews. Too subtle? And then McCarthy denied his tweet had anything to do with religion. Oh, no. And then if you have somebody like me who comes on podcasts and talks about Christian terrorism, which is a real thing, it happens before our eyes. Putin is using it in Ukraine. It's being used in this country. It's being used in Brazil. It's being used in Turkey. It's being used all over the world. Christian terrorism. Oh, well, gee, Mike, you're being very anti-religion. Everybody has the right to their own religion. Sure you do. Peter Weiner, who writes for The Atlantic, says it's routine for Republicans, who surely know better, to claim that they don't subscribe to these views, or that those reacting to anti-Semitic statements are simply being politically correct. But as Jennifer suggests, let's get real. To subscribe to a party that tolerates anti-Semitism and is headed by a piece of human waste who regularly, this Trump scum, spouts his racist, anti-Semitic, misogynistic bullshit. The people who subscribe to his political party are condoning and endorsing all of it. Every single scrap of this hateful poison. So whenever I hear a Republican talking about, well, you're just saying that, Malloy, or anybody else, because you're trying to be politically correct, I want to take the butt of my AR-15 and just ram it in their fucking face. I don't have an AR-15. Just trying to show you the comparative stupid-ass sentence. I just gave it to you. And hatred toward minorities is not a subtle issue for the Christian terrorists, especially these days. Rubin writes this: white grievance, xenophobia, and the so-called Great Replacement theory and Confederate idolatry have taken center stage. They are the emotional levers by which Republicans incite their base and draw attention away from their rotten governance. Sure, Republicans might not deliver drinkable water. And yes, they have no plan to solve inflation. But by gosh, they are going to own the libs by demonizing minorities and consigning women to motherhood. End quote, Jennifer Rubin. Now, it is an historical fact that democracies have fallen to authoritarian movements, making vague promises of national recovery and prosperity, while the leaders of those movements demonize certain groups. I mean, we've got so many examples of that. I don't have to cite them here. And today, well, Rubin says there's no Republican Party. I say there are no Christian terrorists without the racism, anti-Semitism, and misogyny that makes up what used to be the Republican Party, but it's now become the Christian Terrorist Party. And this is something that the polls are beginning to show, that voters might rationalize voting for the party by saying, like these white women are saying, well, I'm not so concerned about abortion. I'm more concerned about the economy. Really? You think it's just about abortion, ladies? Huh? Good God. But when they check that box that has an R after the candidate's name, these nice white folk are not just condoning bigotry, they are encouraging it. So what are we going to do about it? Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcast. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.